today I will explain to you a little bit more about your presentation, what you really need to do. Yeah. Okay, so let's start and cover chapter number 12, which is supply chain management. What I'm going to cover today, number one, is firstly, I'll tell you what supply chain management is. I'll make you understand. Secondly, we are going to review 3 companies' supply chain management. Number 1, Zara. Number 2, McDonald's. And number 3, Apple. So once I give you these 3 examples, you'll understand supply chain management much better. Then thirdly, I'm going to cover how costs are associated in supply chain management. Fourthly, I'm going to cover how companies can do supplier selection, because in supply chain management, there will be suppliers involved, how companies can select supplier. Fifthly, I'm going to cover how companies today in supply chain management are doing global sourcing. And lastly, I'm going to cover one major problem in supply chain management and how today we are using blockchain in supply chain management. Don't worry if you do not understand this number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you don't understand, never mind what I just mentioned. But this is what I'm going to teach you in today's topic. Okay, so guys, let's start. And let's start by explaining what supply chain management is. Okay, so what is supply chain management? Supply chain management is the flow of products or services from the very input side, which is raw material manufacturer. Raw material manufacturer are, for example, these are farmers who grow vegetables, who rear cows, cattle, chickens, or companies that do mining for iron ore, steel, and so on. So these are raw material producers. 2, intermediate product manufacturer. Intermediate product manufacturer are those companies that basically take this raw material and make it into something which is usable. So for example, they take one huge piece of iron and maybe do whatever is in order that this iron can be used. Or for example, they take one whole cow and slaughter the cow and make into meat. Then thirdly, you go to end product manufacturer. End product manufacturer are those companies that make the product itself. So they take different kinds of whatever this intermediate product manufacturer have created, and then they make it into a product. And these end product manufacturers are those companies that make television, that make computer, that for example, McDonald's, they make burger and so on. So these are end product manufacturer. Then it goes to wholesalers and distributor. So you finally go to wholesale and distributor. Wholesalers and distributors are the one that will hold stock. So they buy a huge quantity from this end product manufacturer. For example, this wholesaler or distributor may buy, for example, 1,000 televisions. Then they pack into one, and then they give it to the retailer. So they give it to many retailers. For example, like Harvey Norman, Courts, NTUC, Fair Price, or whatever it is, they give it to all these retailers. And find this retailer, maybe they order 10 television from the distributor. Then slowly they send this 10 television to customer. So guys, that is called the supply chain management process of a company. The flow of product or services from the very input side, which is the raw material, to the intermediate product manufacturer, to the end product manufacturer, to the distributor, to the retailer, and finally get to the customer's end. So this entire process is called supply chain management. This entire supply chain management, needless to say, it is connected by some transportation. So from the raw material, of course, need to be transported to the retail and finally to the customer. So there is transportation involved and there's storage activities involved as well. So at each part, you find that some of the where the manufacturer make ready, they stored somewhere. So they are stored in some warehouses, distribution center, etc. So there's storage and transportation involved as well in this entire supply chain management process. And it is also integrated through information planning and integration of activity. So guys, this entire supply chain management process, there's a lot of information that flows, a lot of planning that flows, that in the end we have the right goods and services to be sold to customer, not anyhow. Okay, so there's a lot of planning process, in supply chain management. Okay, so I just covered and explained to you what is supply chain management. If I were to explain a little bit more detail by using a diagram, okay, let me show you this is how the activities in supply chain management look like. So in supply chain management, guys, if you look at this picture, very important, this is a very important picture. You can see that there's supply side, then there is manufacturing side, then there's demand side. So this demand side is more towards giving customer, and this supply side is more towards taking things from raw materials in order to give to the manufacturing company. Yeah, okay, so there's a supply side and there's a demand side. So from here, all the way here is called supply chain management. So there's a lot of material flow in this supply chain management, which is basically over here to over here. And here there's a bit more on logistics, flow of logistics, whatever it is, that finally end up in the customer's hand. Yeah. So let me explain this picture a little bit. On the supply side, the very beginning part, we have a second tier supplier, which is the raw material producer. So as I mentioned, these are the farmer that grow vegetable. These are the farmer that grow fruits or whatever it is. These are the mining companies that mine for iron ore. So these are the raw material producers. Yeah. Then from this second tier supplier, we'll go to the first tier supplier. This first tier supplier are the one who will buy this raw material and make it into something which is usable for companies. So as I mentioned, for example, this first tier supplier may buy the cow from a huge cow, the animal, the cow, COW, buy from this farmer, slaughter the cow and make it into meat. Yeah, make it into big chunks of meat and so on. So these are the first tier supplier that buy from the mining company, huge pieces of metal and so on, and they make it into something which is usable. Then finally, this first tier supplier will provide it to the manufacturing company. So this manufacturing company now will manufacture something. So maybe they take this metal, they take another kind of raw material, another kind of raw material from another first tier supplier, another kind of another. So they take from many, and they make into a product like a television, like a mobile phone, like a computer, or whatever it is. They make into final product or services. Yeah. Okay. So this is a manufacturer. Then this manufacturer will distribute it to a first tier customer, which is the which is the distributor or the wholesaler. A distributor or wholesaler normally will buy in bulk. So maybe, for example, this company make television, then you find that this distributor may buy one whole bulk, just say of 5,000 television. Yeah. So what this distributor will do is they buy in bulk, so they get a lot of discount from the manufacturer. After they buy in bulk, they'll do packaging into smaller ones. So this 5,000 television that they buy, they will package in one television. Then what they do is, after that, they'll give it to the retailer. One more time, retailer are the shops. For example, NTUC, FairPrice, or the shop anywhere. Or for example, at McDonald's outlet, it's a retailer. Then they give it to, maybe, for example, Harvey Norman, maybe just say 20 pieces of television. Yeah. Not give, of course, they sell it to them. Then this retailer will finally sell it one by one to the end customer. Yeah. So guys, this is a very general, of course, every company, the supply chain is a bit different, but this is how the supply, very generally, the supply chain of a company may look like. Anyone have any questions so far? I hope you guys are listening. Because I told you when I conduct online lesson, I'm just talking. I can't see you guys. Okay, I hope you guys are listening. Guys, many years ago, the supply chain management process was a push method. Let me tell you what it means by push. If you look at this picture, many years ago, what will happen is this farmer just produce many raw material, and they just push it to the first tier supplier to buy. Yeah. Then this first tier supplier also, they make it into whatever it is, reusable thing. They order many, and then they make many, and they just push it to the manufacturer. Then the manufacturer buy this many, and they just make into products, many products, and they just push it to the distributor. Then this distributor also buy many. They do it and they push it to the retailer. And this retailer also buy many, and they try to slowly push it to the customer. Then many a time, customer don't buy, then here end up with too many stock. Then since too many stock, they don't buy as well. So this also end up with too many stock. So since too many stock, they also don't buy from the manufacturer. Manufacturer also produce too much, they end up with too many stock. So you find that in the end, when you use this push method, there's a lot of wastage. So there's a lot of wastage created. Then in the end, things are not sold. Yeah. So guys, today we do not use the push method anymore. That was many years ago. The method we use today is pull method. Yeah. So the pull method is more based on supply and demand. So guys, let me tell you what is the pull method. In the pull method, what will happen? Can you look at the screen? This retailer will find out how much customer buy either per day, either per week, or either per month. So they will do some research and they calculate. Previously, how much customer buy this particular kind of product. Then what they do is they will order just nice from the distributor side. So just say this Harvey Norman, for example, every week they sell just say 50 television. So they order just 50 television for the week. Next week they order another 50. Next week they order another 50. So they order just nice. Yeah. So this distributor as well, they also know how all these second tier customer order. They also order just nice from the manufacturer. Yeah. So this manufacturer also order just nice from the first tier supplier, and this raw material producer also produce just nice. So guys, in this pull method, this dotted line is flow of information. This solid line is flow of physical product. Yeah. So you find that information is given here. Then this second tier supplier will produce enough raw materials only to send it to the first tier supplier. Then they make sure they produce enough just for the manufacturer, enough, and you find that just nice the customer will buy. Of course, there's some buffer, but not too much of buffer, so we can reduce our wastages tremendously. So many years ago, it was push. Then we end up too much of inventory everywhere. But today we use a pull method. Yeah. So we get all the information, then we only send whatever is required. So here you don't have so much of wastages. You find that everything is just nice. Yeah. And guys, tomorrow I'll cover another chapter on wastages, which is on lean. Okay, never mind, I'll leave it that for tomorrow, but I'll cover very in-depth how companies can do that. Yeah. Okay. So I just explained to you. These are the activities in the supply chain management process. Now let me share with you some example of supply chain management of companies. I'm going to show you 3 company examples. Let's look at the first company, which is Zara. Guys, I'm sure you know Zara is a fast fashion company. Fast fashion company basically is a fashion company that will try to understand what are the new trends of clothing that people want to buy. Then they quickly make in order for customers to be able to buy. Yeah. So the main thing is they are very fast. Yeah. So guys, let me show you or explain to you Zara's supply chain management. Just if, for example, one of the Zara retail store found out that autumn is coming. They did the research. They know that autumn is coming, and they find out that, hey, customers want to buy a bit more of warmer clothing, a bit more thicker clothing to keep warm. They want to buy a little bit more of longer clothing and so on in order to keep themselves warm. And maybe the color that they want to buy is light brown color. They don't want to buy dark color. They want to buy lighter color clothing. So how did they find out? They did some research. So they researched customer, and this is what they found out, that customer want to buy. Because autumn is coming, they want to buy a certain kind of clothing in order to keep themselves warm, what they want to buy, how thick they want the clothing to be, what color they want it to be. So now let me tell you what this retail outlet will do. This retail outlet will give this information all the way to Zara in Spain. Okay, Zara is a Spanish company, so they will give it to Zara in Spain. So now let me tell you what will happen in headquarters in Zara, Spain. In one day, day number one, a designer in Spain sketches the new piece of clothing with the input from the store managers of the latest trend that they found out from customers. So whatever these people feedback over here, this designer will now design a certain kind of clothing item in one day only. After one day, next, a pattern maker will create a prototype. And this is from day number 2 to day number 5. So from day number 2 to day number 5, this pattern maker will basically get a certain kind of material and they will make one prototype of how this entire maybe clothing will look like, the dress or something may look like. Yeah, so they make one prototype. After day 2 to day 5, this prototype is done. Guys, day number 6 to 21, which is approximately 2 weeks. Day number 6 to day number 21, which is approximately 2 weeks. What will happen is the factory, the Zara factory in Spain, they will order fabric. They will order fabric, bundles and bundles of fabric. If they don't have sewing machine, they'll buy sewing machine. If they don't have enough labor, they'll hire labor and so on. And in 14 days time, the fabric is cut and 8,000 new pieces of this dress is manufactured in 14 days time. So they get everything and so on and they make 8,000 pieces. After making these 8,000 pieces, from day number 21 to 24, the apparel is driven to distribution center before heading to Barcelona to be flown to Zara stores worldwide. So from 21 to 24, it will go to Barcelona. From wherever Zara is, it will go to Barcelona in order to be distributed all around the world. And in one day time, from day number 24 to day number 25, in one day time, now this freight is very fast. It will be flown to maybe in Manhattan, which is a store in USA. Then on day number 25 onwards, they can start to sell already. Yeah. So guys, you can see how fast Zara have their supply chain management. They need to make it fast for sure, because if they are very, very slow, 100 days later, then only they manufacture and they start to sell autumn over already. Nobody want to buy. Yeah. 100 days later is about 3 months. Autumn finished already. Yeah, nobody will want to buy. Too late. So this is an example of supply chain management of Zara. Let me cover one more example is McDonald's. For McDonald's supply chain management, you can really see tier 2, tier 1, tier 2, tier 1, and finally reach customers' hands over here. Yeah, so this is a bit more of what I showed you the earlier picture, which is over here. I told you this is a very basic picture, a very general picture on supply chain management. Okay, so McDonald's is very related to this. So let me show you McDonald's supply chain management. So guys, all the McDonald's outlet, what they will do is they will do research. How many burger per day customer eat? How many French fries customer eat per day? And let me tell you, this information is feedback all the way over here, so that the supplier know how much vegetables to grow and so on for all these outlets in order to sell burgers, French fries, drinks, etc. So there is information which is feedback all the way to the tier 2 supplier. Yeah. So now let me tell you what will happen. This tier 2 supplier are the farmers. They will grow vegetables, they will grow carrots, they will grow cucumber, they will grow tomatoes. They are the one who will rear cow, chickens, and so on. So they are the lettuce growers, potato growers, poultry farmers, and so on. So this information is given to this tier 2 supplier, which are the farmers. Yeah, so they grow just nice for every week's production. Then what will happen is this tier 1 supplier, what they will do is they buy from the farmer and they buy in bulk, and then they make it to reusable. So as I mentioned just now, maybe they buy one entire cow, they slaughter the cow. They of course not buy one, they buy many cows, they slaughter, they do the packaging and so on, they remove the blood, whatever it is. The vegetable as well, they wash the vegetable, they basically make sure that in the end it is something which is usable. Then through inbound transportation, this is transported to the distribution center. So what the distribution center do is they buy in bulk. So they buy in 25 kilogram of vegetable, 25 kilogram of meat or whatever it is, or maybe even 50 kilogram of whatever it is, they buy in bulk. After they buy in bulk, they make it to smaller pieces. They pack it to smaller, Because when they buy in bulk, they get a lot of discount. Then they pack it to smaller packaging and so on. Then after this goes through outbound transportation to the retailer, which is all the McDonald's outlet. This is the first tier. First tier part goes to each and every McDonald's outlet. And what this McDonald's outlet do is they take the small package of vegetable, maybe 1 or 2 kilogram, and the bun, the meat, and so on. They fry the meat, etc., etc. They make the burger, French fries to be sold to customer. Yeah. So guys, this is an example of McDonald's supply chain management. But one additional thing in McDonald's supply chain management, let me tell you, are the plastic crates. Guys, let me tell you what's a plastic crate. A plastic crate is a plastic box that when this outbound transportation, in this entire transportation, inbound and outbound transportation is a plastic crate where they put the meat, where they put the vegetable and so on. There's like boxes, like plastic boxes. So when this McDonald's outlet receive all these plastic boxes, when they use the meat and so on, they cannot throw away the plastic box. It's not environment friendly. So after it is delivered, after they use the vegetable and so on, they'll keep this empty plastic crate, and in the next delivery, they will return this plastic crate, and this plastic crate must be returned back all the way here in order to be reused. Then it's returned back in order to be reused. Because sometimes, something we can reuse. Yeah. So guys, of course, every company today are becoming environment friendly. They are trying to do the 3R, reduce, reuse, recycle. So you find that you need to go back in order to reuse the plastic crate. So guys, this is an example of McDonald's supply chain management. Let me cover one more company, which is Apple. Guys, let me use iPhone as an example. Just say Apple, when they sell their iPhones, let me show you their supply chain management. In order to make an iPhone, Apple need to source for a lot of raw materials. Yeah, they need to buy CPU, they need to buy IC, they need to buy electric components, they need to buy the screen, they need to buy the camera, they need to buy the gyroscope. So many components of this iPhone. So guys, some of these components they get from USA itself, some of the components they get from China, some they get from Taiwan, an IC chip and so on, the CPU they get from Taiwan, the gyroscope they get from Europe. So they get many different parts from outsourcing companies in the whole world. And these are the raw material producer. So you can see this is not like vegetable and so on. These are the company that make the raw material, the IC chip and so on. These are the raw material, the camera and so on. This is the raw material. Okay, after they source from all around the world, all these will go to China. And when you go to China, this is where they will manufacture the iPhone. Anyone know which company manufacture Apple iPhones? Of course, Apple do not manufacture iPhone in USA. They manufacture in China. But anyone know which company manufactures iPhone for Apple? Okay. Not halfway through, you right, Manish? Okay, it is Foxconn. Foxconn is a... Yeah, okay. Okay, so thank you very much, Liu Q Chow. Okay, it is Foxconn. Guys, just for information, Foxconn is a Taiwanese company, but majority of all their factories are in China. So why Apple manufacture iPhone in China, I think I don't need to explain, because labor costs are cheaper, some material are cheaper in China, taxes are cheaper in China. Okay, that's the reason Apple asked Foxconn to manufacture iPhone. Okay, so here, Foxconn will manufacture a lot of iPhone. Yeah, tens of thousands of iPhone. Then after they manufacture all these iPhone, through Apple uses FedEx and UPS, this is sent to intermediate warehouses and even sent to their facilities in California as well. Yeah, so it is transported, all these iPhones are transported. Then after transported, they'll go into distribution. Yeah. So one way Apple distribute the iPhone is through online store. You can go to Apple store, apple.com, and you go to store and you can buy, order, and they'll deliver to you, deliver to customer the iPhones. Or they also sell in retail stores. You can go to Harvey Norman, you can go to courts or whatever to buy iPhone as well. So they send it to them to sell it to customer as well. They also do direct sales force as well. Like in Singapore, we have Apple store in Orchard Road and we have an Apple store in Jewel at the Changi Airport. Okay, they sell directly as well. They have their own store. And they, of course, many a times sell it through wholesalers, retailers, network carriers, and so on. Network carriers are like StarHub, Singtel, M1 in Singapore. You can buy from them as well, maybe with a package, not package, with a contract, with a mobile phone contract. Yeah. Okay, so this is how they distribute through their retail. Then finally, the customer will buy. But guys, for Apple, their supply chain management have some additional thing. They need to provide warranty as well. Needless to say, when you buy an Apple iPhone, Apple will give you 1 year warranty. Yeah. So in their supply chain management, they need to cater for warranty. What if this customer buy, 1 month later there's a problem? And this is not because the customer dropped the phone or whatever it is a manufacturing default. So guys, for Apple, they need to have a service center as well. So somewhere around here, they can have a service center within it, or they can have a separate service center as part of their supply chain management that customers can come and return that spoiled iPhone. The service center will repair and give it back to the customer. So they need to have that as well. Yeah. So they may have warranty, return, trading program, and so on, that they have this service center to return. Some people, when they buy iPhone, they may trade in. Anyone know what's trade in? Now let me just tell you. Which means I buy a new iPhone $2,000, but I give my iPhone old one back, I get $200. Yeah. So I get $200 from Apple, which means I pay $1,800 only. Instead of buying a $2,000 iPhone, because I gave my old one back, Apple will take it back, I get $200 discount. So what do Apple do with this old iPhone that the customer trade in? Do they throw away? No, guys. Let me tell you what happened. This iPhone in their supply chain network is sent back over here at China, and what China will do is they will dismantle the old iPhone, see which parts are very, very good, they reuse those parts. Yeah? And they make new iPhone in order to be sold. So something they may reuse, something they cannot reuse, something they may recycle. So it will come back somewhere around here or somewhere around here, and they do some recycling if required. So you can see every company, their supply chain do have a little bit of differences, but the main thing, it is based on from raw material producer to this first tier manufacturing, then they go to the main manufacturing, then they go to distribution warehousing, then they go to retailer, and finally end up with a customer. Yeah, but that is a basic supply chain model, but every company, of course, based on whatever they sell, it is a little bit different. Yeah. Okay, so I just covered 3 examples of supply chain of company. I covered Zara, McDonald's, and Apple. One more time. Anyone have any questions so far? Let's continue. In a supply chain management process, guys, today every company must make their supply chain management as lean as possible. Lean basically means they must make sure they have less wastage, and as less wastage as possible. Yeah. One more time, the word I use is wastage. Waste means what? Don't waste raw material. Don't waste time. Don't waste effort. Don't waste money. Don't waste people. So we must make sure we reduce our wastage as much as possible. So for example, in the procurement part, we need to avoid duplicate procedures in different departments to do procurement. Because in the end, your procurement part is very, very complicated. You're going to waste a lot of time and effort. So we try to make sure there's no duplication as part of our procurement. In the manufacturing part, we need to improve quality and precision to prevent defect and return goods. Which means when Apple manufacture iPhone, they must make this iPhone high quality the first time. When they manufacture, if they manufacture low quality, you need to redo again. Then you waste time, effort, and money. Yep. So we manufacture the first time high quality the first time. In the warehousing, we must keep inventory level as low as possible and as reasonable, so that in the end they are sold and we don't have any which are left behind. Because if they are left behind, it's wasted, not sold, money is wasted there. And in the transportation, we must consolidate multiple products into single shipment. So guys, if just say a company is using a truck in order to transport, when they transport their products, they shouldn't make this truck half full. If the truck is half full, then the other half is all wasted. So they must pack the truck that it is fully packed and then you transport. Yeah, okay, so guys, as I mentioned, companies must make sure that as part of their supply chain management process, they try to reduce wastage anywhere that they can as much as possible. And I just want to tell you, tomorrow I'm going to cover a chapter on lean. I'll go very, very in-depth how company can do lean. But today I just want to tell you that supply chain management, we must make sure that everything is lean. One example to make it very, very lean is to reduce cost as much as possible. Yeah, guys, cost is a very important factor in supply chain management. You know why? Because in supply chain management, at each part, if your cost is high, and the cost accumulate, then if my costs are very, very high, then I need to mark up and sell it at a certain price to a customer. And if my costs are very high, I need to sell at high price. Yeah. And if my competitor, their costs are very, very low, they can sell at lower price, nobody will buy mine. Yeah. So cost is a very important factor that we reduce cost tremendously so that we can compete with our competitor anytime. So guys, whatever the company can reduce their material cost, labor cost, if they can reduce the material and labor cost, if they can reduce and instead of making profit, like for example 25%, if they can increase their profit to 30% or 35% or 40% by reducing other costs, they must do it as much as possible. Yeah, so again, cost is one very important factor in supply chain management, besides other things as well. Yeah, so let me just tell you what are the costs involved in supply chain management. Of course, the biggest cost is the material cost. These are the raw material costs. Then don't forget you got transportation costs. Then don't forget you got manufacturing costs. In manufacturing costs, you got labor costs as well. Yeah. And don't forget sometimes you have storage costs as well. Because sometimes from this to here you store, you got storage costs as well. Then again from the manufacturing here you got transportation costs again. Then sometimes you find that there's inventory costs. In inventory you buy too much, it becomes defective and so on. So at every point in the supply chain management, if we can reduce costs, we must reduce, then we can be as competitive as possible and sell it to customer and become better than our competitor. To illustrate how companies can save costs, let me use one example. So to illustrate the impact that price-conscious purchasing can have on profit, consider a single operation with the following financial detail. Okay, this is just a single operation only, don't think of too big. Just say this company sell a certain kind of product and their total sales, just say for example in 1 month, their total sales is $10 million. Just say in 1 month, this certain kind of product. Yeah. The purchase of services and raw material is $7 million. So this company that sell in 1 month their product, the sales is 10 million, but their raw material and services cost is $7 million. The salaries that they pay to the employees to make the product, just say is $2 million. And there are some other overhead costs, whatever the transportation cost, whatever the storage cost and so on, is 500,000. So guys, the profit that this company make is 10 million minus 7 million minus 2 million minus 500,000 is equal to 500,000. Yeah. So now let me teach you how this company maybe can double their profit. So their current profit is 500,000. Let me tell you how they can double their profit plus another 500,000 and make $1 million profit. They can do any of the following. One way they can double this profit from 500,000 to 1 million is to increase sales revenue by 100%. Which means instead of doing sales of 10 million, they do sales of 20 million. So 20 million minus 14 million minus 4 million minus 1 million will be equal to 1 million. So needless to say, if they increase their sales, maybe they do some marketing or whatever it is, or instead of selling in this country only, they sell another country as well. If they double their sales, their profit will double. Yeah. Another way this company can double their profit to 1 million is to decrease salaries by 25%. So their current salaries is $2 million. Maybe they have too many redundant workers. Too many workers, some of them are not doing much thing. So no choice, I'm going to retrench some of them and try to save 25% in salary. So 25% of $2 million is 500,000. So 500 plus 500, I can increase my profit to $1 million. Or another way how companies can increase the profit to $1 million is to decrease overhead by 100%. Maybe these overhead are too much, 500,000. Maybe some of this overhead I try to put into other and try to make this into zero. Yeah, if I'm able to make this into zero, then of course this comes over here, my profit will become $1 million. And lastly, another way this company can increase their profit from 500,000 to 1 million is to decrease purchase cost by 7.1%. Their current purchase cost you can see is $7 million. So guys, maybe they can decrease this purchase cost. Maybe they can bargain with their supplier to reduce the cost, bargain this raw material, see how transportation is done and so on of this raw material, and maybe they reduce the raw material purchase cost by 7.1%. If they are able to do that, 7.1% of $7 million, if you calculate, is 500,000. Yeah, then they can make $1 million profit. So guys, this is just an illustration, but I just want to tell you, companies today, they can do whatever it is in their entire supply chain management. They can look at it, and any part, if they are able to reduce, they must make sure that they reduce their cost as much as possible. Guys, if you don't understand anything which I'm teaching, please stop me and ask question. Yeah, you can on your microphone and ask, or just type on the group chat. I will answer your question. Because if you don't ask, I assume that you understand everything which I'm saying, or almost everything. The next part of today's lesson, let me cover supplier. Besides cost, another very important part in supply chain management is supplier. Because each part of the supply chain management, you find that we are getting from supplier, getting from supplier. Yeah. So choosing supplier should involve evaluating the relative important factor that in the end, I choose the best supplier in order to buy whatever I need. So who is the best supplier? Those suppliers with excellent reputation, that they don't fail me. Secondly, on-time delivery, which means if they say they're going to deliver to me in 3 days' time, they deliver in 3 days' time. Second is high-quality raw material, which means when I buy this certain material, it is high quality, etc. For example, cost as well. That's not too expensive as well. The costs are low, plus maybe other things. Yeah. So suppliers are very, very important, because if you never evaluate your supplier, you anyhow buy from this supplier, and suddenly you realize you're buying too expensive, or the supplier is giving you low quality raw materials, the company is going to be in trouble. Yeah. So it is very important, one more time, that we select the right supplier. Sometimes a company may work with a short-term supplier, and sometimes a company may work with a long-term supplier. Guys, let me tell you what are short-term and long-term supplier. Short-term supplier is when I'm a company, I just buy from this supplier one time. Then I don't buy anymore. For example, I'm a computer company, I want to manufacture computer, and maybe I want to manufacture 1,000 computer. I just buy from all these supplier, I manufacture my 1,000 computer, then I don't buy anymore. Yeah. Then maybe 1 year later, I want to manufacture another 1,000. I look at new supplier, I just buy from them, I manufacture again. So that's called short term. Long-term supplier are those supplier that I buy continually. For example, Apple, they manufacture iPhone, they manufacture, every day they manufacture and they never stop. Yeah. So every time they need to buy, they need to buy, they need to buy, they need to buy to manufacture, they need to buy to manufacture. So that is called long-term supplier. So they don't just buy one time, they keep buying and buying and buying and buying. So guys, now let me teach you what are the things that a company need to look out for when they buy from short-term supplier, and what are the things that company need to look out for when they buy from long-term supplier. Let me cover short-term supplier first. One more time, short-term supplier means I buy one time only. So for short-term supplier, I need to look at the range and product of services provided. Of course, I need to know whether they provide something which I need. If they are unable to provide, I'm not going to even buy from them. Even I buy one time. So of course, the range of the product is very important. Of course, quality is also very important. Doesn't mean that I'm going to buy from this supplier one time, I buy low quality. Then I make my 1,000 products all low quality. I will not be able to sell. So another thing I look out for is, can this supplier give me quality? Next is responsiveness. Responsiveness means when I call them, I ask them something, do they reply immediately? Because short-term supplier, of course, even though I buy from them one time, but because I'm going to manufacture one time or maybe and so on, I buy from them one time, their responsiveness must be there. Also dependability. Dependability means, can I trust them? Yeah. If I find that this supplier cannot be trusted, even short term I will not buy. I buy from another supplier. And delivery and volume flexibility, which means if I ask them to, hey, can I order this amount or this amount? Okay, they must be able to be flexible. Because sometimes I'm manufacturing 1,000 units, sometimes I'm manufacturing maybe 200 units. So are they willing to sometimes sell me more or less? That's called volume delivery flexibility. So I need that kind of flexibility as well. Total cost as well. Of course, I'm not going to buy blindly and whatever this supplier charge me, I just pay them. Of course, cost is also important. That the costs are not very high, even though I work with them one time. And the ability to supply in the required quantity, which means whatever quantity I want, they are able to supply. Okay, so these are the things a company look out for a short-term supplier. Now let me tell you, if a company work with a long-term supplier, what do they look out for? One thing a company look out for is potential for innovation. Guys, innovation basically means I don't just buy their standardized raw material. I say, hey, I want the raw material to have my company logo. I want the raw material to be a bit more longer. And are they able to innovate and give me? Because I'm going to work with them long term. Okay, so they must be able to innovate. Also the ease of doing business, which means we have a very good business relationship. We can talk like friends like that. We can network. Our communication is very good. Because if I work with a long-term company, if I'm unable to do the business very easily, I think I better change supplier. Also willingness to share risk, which means sometimes I have a big project and sometimes I tell the supplier, hey, can you give me a very big discount because the first time I'm doing this, maybe you lose a bit money, I lose a bit money, never mind, we share the risk. Yeah. So they must be willing to share risk. Also long-term commitment to supply, which means they are able to supply me on a long-term basis, and ability to transfer knowledge as well as product services. So whatever the knowledge of their raw materials they transfer to me, then I really know what needs to be done. So this must be done. This is something I expect from the long-term supplier. Also technical capability, operation capability, financial capability, and their managerial capability. So I need to look at all this, where here I don't really care. Your manager good or not, whether you got a lot of money or not, I don't care. But here, I must know this company is financially sound, whether their managers are able to make decisions. So all these I'm going to look out for long-term supplier. Yep. So again, guys, one more time. Suppliers are very important part of supply chain management. And company need to see whether they are going to work with short term or long term. For short term, this is something they need to look out for. For long term, this is something they need to look out for. Yeah, which are very important. So now let me cover an example how a company can select supplier. Guys, let me tell you what it means by select supplier. If just say I'm a company, I manufacture a certain product. There are 3 suppliers, supply number 1, 2, 3, that I can buy raw materials from to make my product. So should I buy from supply number 1? Should I buy from supply number 2? Or should I buy from supply number 3? Yeah. So I must be able to select which supplier which I want to buy from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an example to explain how companies can do supplier selection. Just say, for example, a hotel chain has decided to change its supplier of cleaning supply. Cleaning supply are basically like broom, mop, detergent, toilet paper, all these are part of the cleaning supply. Because its current supplier has become unreliable in its delivery performance. So just say, for example, this hotel has been buying supplies from a certain supplier, but currently they have become very unreliable. Maybe they are delivering late or whatever it is. So now the hotel have identified 2 alternative suppliers and they are considering which supplier to buy from. Yeah. So this old supplier they don't want to buy anymore because they are unreliable. And now the hotel have identified 2 suppliers. Just say these 2 suppliers are supplier number A and supplier B. And now I need to decide as a hotel, should I buy from supplier A or should I buy from supplier B? So guys, this is how a company can use a tool as part of supply selection to evaluate supplier A and B and then make a decision, should I buy from A or make a decision, should I buy from B? Okay, so let me very quickly tell you how companies can do supply selection. What the company need to do first is they need to come up with some factors which are important to them when they buy raw material from this supplier. Okay, not raw material, but maybe materials from the supplier. Just say this company came up with 7 factors. Let me show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The first one is cost performance, quality record, delivery speed, promise and achieve, dependability, range, and innovation. Yep. So just say this company, this hotel came up with 7 factors. Cost performance means when I buy from this supplier, is it cheap or not? The materials. Yep. Quality record means when I buy from this supplier, the raw material I buy, the cleaning supply, is it high quality or not? Delivery speed promise means, can they promise me a short delivery time? And delivery speed achieve means, when they really deliver, do they keep to that promise or not? Are they able to achieve whatever they promise? Yeah. Dependability record means, can I trust them or not? Yeah. So anything which I tell them, can I trust them? Can they keep secret? Can I depend on them? And so on. Range provided means the range of supply that they have that I can buy from. Maybe I need to buy toilet paper, I need to buy broom, I need to buy mop, I need to buy this, I need to buy this. Do they have a huge range of products? And innovation capability. Innovation capability basically means if I customize and ask them to do something for me, are they able to do it? Maybe on the toilet paper, I want to put my hotel logo. Or on the soap, I want to put my hotel logo. So are they able to innovate? Yeah, okay, so guys, one more time, I came up with these 7 factors. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come up with weightage. Weightage means how important these factors are to me. If the factor is upon 10, from 1 to 10, I'll decide how important these factors are to me. If it's very, very important, I give 9 or 10 upon 10. If it's not very important, I give 1 or 2 upon 10. Or I can give in between 4, 5, 6, so I can give 10 upon 10. So out of 10, I'm going to give a score. So just say from my hotel, cost is very, very important because I want to buy as cheap as possible. So I put 10 upon 10. If it's not important, I put 1 upon 10. Yeah. Quality also very, very important because I'm a hotel. I don't want customers to come and then the toilet paper low quality, the soap low quality. So I say quality also very important. I put 10 upon 10. Delivery speed promise and achieve, I put 7 and 7 upon 10. Why? Because I'm able to keep stock, and if they deliver 1 day late or 2 day late, never mind, I don't have to worry, I have stock. So it is important, but not very, very important. I put 7 upon 10. Now, I hope you understand what this weightage means. Next is dependability record, which means how trustworthy this company is. I find that this, for me, a company being trustworthy is quite important. I put 8 upon 10. One more time, this I just decide, not the supplier. I decide what I want in a supplier. Range provided, I find that 5 upon 10 is good enough. Maybe some things that they don't have, never mind. Doesn't really matter. So the range provided is not very important to me. And innovation capability is somewhat important for me. I put 4 upon 10. Yeah, if they can innovate is good. If they cannot, never mind. If they cannot put the logo or whatever it is on their soap, or maybe their logo is not very high quality logo, I think it's good enough. 4 upon 10. Yeah. So guys, this weightage I decide based on the factor. Okay, so now let me tell you what I'm going to do. So I'm a hotel, maybe I'm the hotel manager, and I can either buy this cleaning supply from supplier A or supplier B. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to evaluate this supplier. So I'm going to look at supplier A, and I'm going to look at what is the cost of their products. When I look at the cost, I find that the costs are not very expensive. I give 8 upon 10. If it's very, very cheap, I give 10 upon 10. If it's very, very expensive, I give 1 upon 10. So I give a bigger number, means good. Smaller number means no good. When I look at the quality of this supplier, their products, I find that it is quite good quality. Not very, very high quality, but quite good quality. I give 7 upon 10. If it's outstanding quality, I give 10 upon 10. If it's very, very low quality, I give 1 upon 10. So the higher the number there, means the supply is good in meeting my criteria. Then I look at the delivery speed promise. I find that maybe supplier A, again guys, I'm not anyhow, I'm evaluating this supplier. Maybe this supplier A, I find out that they are unable to promise me good delivery time. I just give 5 upon 10 in between. And many a time they are late. I give 4 upon 10. Their dependability record is okay. Not that bad, not that good. I give 6 upon 10. Their range provider is quite good. Yeah. So they don't have all the range which I need, but they have almost 80% of the range, so I give 8 upon 10. And their innovation capability, I find that quite okay. Something they say they cannot do, something they say they can innovate, I give 6 upon 10. Again, not anyhow, I ask them or I try to find out. Yeah. So this is how I score supplier A. Supplier B, when I look at supplier B, their cost, I think is more expensive, so I give 5 upon 10. Again, if the cost is very, very cheap, I give 10 upon 10 means good. If the cost is very, very expensive, I give 1 upon 10 means no good. So maybe the cost I gave 5 upon 10. Maybe supplier B, their products are very high quality, I give 9 upon 10. Their delivery speed is 5 upon 10. Their speed achieved is upon 10. Most of the time, they are very, very on time. Their dependability record, I find that it's 8 upon 10, can be trusted. Their range is not really there. So only 50% of the range, so I give 5 upon 10. And maybe their innovation, whatever I ask them to innovate, I put the logo, what color logo, all that they can do whatever for me. I give 9 upon 10. Yeah, again guys, not anyhow, but evaluate the supplier. So now let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to calculate the total score of supplier A and supplier B. How to calculate the total score? For supplier A, I'm going to take 8 times 10 equals 80, 7 times 10 equals 70, 5 times 7 equals 35, 4 times 7 equals 28, this is 48, this is 40, this is 24. Then I take 80 plus 70 plus 35, add, give me 325. For supplier B, I do the same thing. 5 times 10 equals 50, 9 times 5 equals 90, 5 times 7 equals 35, so I times. Then I take 50 plus 90 plus add, I get 356. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. 24 of you are locked in. I want all 24 of you to answer. Guys, should I choose supplier A or B? I want everyone to answer. Matthew, you say B. Kim Long, you say B. Trisma, you say B. Sergio, you say B. Quichao, you say B. Okay, now to so Changwan, Kim Long, BB, Miao Yi, Woti Nok Tram, Kalis, Manish, Lai Afuk, you say not A. So you must be the unique one. So not A definitely means B. Jai and Pan also you say B. Okay, all of you are very smart, definitely B. Why? Because B scored the highest. Because they meet my criteria and I choose B. Guys, imagine I'm the hotel manager and I never do this. I never do this evaluation. Yeah? Supplier A and B, and just say I chose supplier A. I'm the hotel manager. My CEO asked me, hey Dipan, why did you choose supplier A? Because I said, I like supplier A. What will the CEO do? He said, Dipan, tomorrow no need to come to work. You are fired. Yeah, guys, we don't choose supplier that we like the supplier. But just say I do this, the evaluation, and I chose supplier B. I'm the hotel manager, my CEO asked me. He said, hey Dipan, can you tell me why you chose supplier B? I said, see. These are some 7 factors which are important to a hotel, and this is important weightage. I've evaluated supplier A and B scored the highest. That's the reason I scored supplier B. What will my CEO tell me? He'll tell me, Dipan, tomorrow I'll give you a promotion. Okay, I'm just joking. But guys, I just want to make you realize that doing this is very important because we can justify to anyone in our supply chain management process why we have chosen a particular supplier. Yeah, we can justify. So we should not anyhow do whatever we want. We must make sure we use a certain tool, and this is a very easy tool on supply selection that companies can use in order to select supplier. Now let me cover the next part of this chapter, which is global sourcing. Guys, global sourcing basically means today companies are not obligated to buy from their local suppliers only. Today companies can buy from international suppliers. Yeah? Which means if I'm a Singapore company, I manufacture a certain kind of product, I don't need to buy from supplier in Singapore only. I can buy raw material from this country, from this country, from this country, from this country. And guys, that is precisely what McDonald's Singapore does. McDonald's Singapore, let me tell you, their bun they get from a Singapore company. Their vegetable they get from Malaysia. Their meat they get from Australia. And something else they get from other country. Yeah? So today we are not limited or obligated in order to buy raw materials from our own country only, or any kind of materials from our own country. Of course, today we can do global sourcing. And this picture is just an example, another example of this company called Boeing. Boeing basically is a US company. And this company, Boeing, let me tell you, they make aircraft. There are 2 large aircraft manufacturers, commercial aircraft manufacturers in the whole world today. One is Boeing, which is a US company. Second is Airbus, which is a European company. Yeah. And this company, Boeing, they make the 787 Dreamliner. This 787 Dreamliner is a plane which is very fuel efficient, etc., etc. And let me tell you, when they manufacture this aeroplane, they get parts from all around the world. You can see over here the forward fuselage they get from USA, Kansas itself. This part of the forward fuselage they get from Japan. This center fuselage they get from Italy. You can find that this part they get California, the wing they get from Japan, the trailing edge they get from Japan, the wingtip they get from Korea, the movable trailing edge they get from Australia, etc., etc., etc. So they have manufacturing plant in other countries as well. Then they get raw materials from that country, they manufacture and they transport to USA and assemble the plane in order to be sold in the whole. Yeah. So why do they do global sourcing? Needless to say, sometimes some raw materials are cheaper in other country, some are higher quality in other country, some I order from other countries even much faster. Sometimes I order from my own country, the manufacture too slow. Maybe their equipment no good, maybe their employees they don't have much employees. where I order from another international company, they can even deliver to me faster. Even though with the transportation time, eventually they can deliver faster. Yeah, okay. I think I don't have to go very in depth, but today companies, one more time, are not limited to buying raw materials or materials from their own country. They can buy international today. Yeah. However, whenever company buy international, guys, companies must consider cost. Because when you buy locally and you buy internationally there are some additional costs that the company will incur. Yeah. And these are six costs, 6 costs that company must consider before they buy from international supplier. Okay, let me cover the 6 costs. The first cost is the purchase price itself. This is the purchase price of the raw material. Okay, of course, if I buy locally, it's so much more cheaper compared to overseas. Of course, maybe I just buy locally if the quality is good. Yeah. So I need to look at the cost, which is the purchase price. This is the total price, including the transaction other costs with the product or service. So if I want to buy, for example, McDonald's, they want to buy meat from Australia. Of course, they need to look at the cost of the meat compared to they buy from Singapore. Okay, this is the cost of the raw material itself. Second is transportation cost. These are freight costs, including fuel surcharge. I need to consider because when I buy something from Australia, of course, you find that there is transportation cost. Either sea transportation or air transportation or land transportation or whatever it is, there is transportation cost. The third cost I need to consider is inventory carrying costs. These are storage, handling, insurance, etc. that I need to pay money as well. So let me tell you, as part of the transportation cost, when inventory is brought from one place to another place, sometimes there's storage. Sometimes you find that there's insurance I need to pay because if I don't buy insurance, the thing gets lost, I lose everything. Yeah. And I need to consider as part of inventory carrying cost, depreciation cost as well. Because sometimes, some things I buy, by the time it reaches to me, it may depreciate a little bit. By the time I do something, you find that this, what I buy is $1,000, it becomes $900. Yep, so there are depreciation cost as well. And sometimes there's obsolescence cost as well. Guys, let me tell you what's obsolescence cost. Some company, they buy raw material from international and they buy too many. You find that after they buy too many, then they use. 1 month later, the rest become obsolete and they cannot use anymore. Let me give one example of obsolescence. Just say I'm a company making mobile phone and I buy CPU. And I buy CPU from Taiwan. And maybe, for example, I buy 1,000 CPU. Yeah. Then I manufacture the 1,000. Left 100, there's a new CPU already. And it's the same price. And today, customer want the new CPU, faster one. And I cannot use this old one, put in my mobile phone or whatever it is, nobody's going to buy. So now this one becomes obsolete and you throw away. Yeah, so sometimes there are some obsolescence costs involved as well. Another cost is cross-border taxes, tariff, duties, etc. Sometimes called landed costs, which are the sum of all the duty, shipping, insurance that many a time a company to pay. The main thing over here is taxes, cross-border, tariff, and so on. Guys, just say for example, I buy something from Australia. This company, when they sell to me, you find that in the end, I need to pay taxes to the Australian government. Then when I import to Singapore, I need to pay taxes to the Singapore government, import tax as well. So don't forget, sometimes there are all these taxes involved when we buy international. And lastly, are supply and operational risks. These are risks which may happen or may not happen. These are including geopolitical factors such as changes in the country leadership, trade policy changes, financial crisis, etc., etc., etc. These are called risks. Yeah, guys, I'm sure you know what is happening between USA and China today. They're having a trade war. Yep. So today between USA and China, they're having a trade war, and because of this president, who is a crazy president, who anyhow impose some kind of taxes, impose some kind of restriction, and so on. And you find that when China, some things are banned, cannot be sold, and so on, and something they sell in the end become too expensive. So you find that in the end, we are going to have all these kind of costs which are added in. These are risks and so on. And let me tell you what are some other kind of risks. Sometimes, for example, I'm a company, I buy from an international supplier. But when they send to me something totally different. I say, oh my God, I order from them this, but they send me something totally different. Yeah. So what do I have to do now? I need to return back to them, and this transportation cost I need to bear. Then they send me the correct one. Maybe the transportation cost they bear. Yeah, and my project may be delayed as well. So these are supply risks. Many different kinds. These are just some example that I need to incur. Sometimes it may happen. They need to consider whenever companies do global sourcing. Yeah. So guys, today many companies, of course, are buying international. As you can see from Boeing over here. As you can see, Apple as well. Today they buy raw materials from everywhere. They buy gyroscope from here, the camera from here, this from here, that from here. But they must make sure they consider all these costs whenever they buy globally or internationally. Now let me cover one big problem in supply chain management. Among many problems, let me cover this one huge problem in supply chain management. Guys, this is called the bullwhip effect. A bullwhip effect is basically when there's escalation, even in the pull method, not the push method. The push method, many a time there's a lot of escalation of inventory. But this is even in the pull method, sometimes there's escalation of inventory, that in the end we end up with too much of end products, they are not sold. So let me just illustrate a simple example. Just say, for example, this is a store, maybe they sell mobile phone. Every week, actually, they sell 100 mobile phone per week. So actually, they have set all the way and they are given 100, every week they sell 100 mobile phone per week, just say, for example. So they use the pool method and they are always given 100 mobile phone to be sold per week. Next week, they are given 100, they sell. Next week, they are given 100, they sell. But now, let me tell you what happened. Suddenly, this week, Monday, Tuesday, they resell 100. And they start to panic. Now they got no mobile phone. Yeah, and still got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So suddenly what happened, do not know during festive period or do not know during what, suddenly a lot of people go and buy mobile phone. So you know what they do? They order more. They say, hey, for next week, instead of 100, give me 200. Yeah. So they order more. Then you find that these people will also order more. They say, maybe not 200, I think I better prepare 300 because other companies also may order from me. So they order more from the distribution center. Then this distribution center also order more from the part supplier. So instead of 200, they order 300, then here become 400, and they make 400. And eventually these are sent, but next week they still sell 100, they never sell 200. Yeah. So guys, this is, you can see it's still the pull effect, it's not the push effect, but you find that there's a lot of escalation that may happen in orders and so on. Sometimes people start to panic, and in the end we end up with too much of inventory. Okay, so this is one major problem. Even in the pull effect, we may have what we call bullwhip effect. Lastly, let me cover blockchain in supply chain management. Guys, I'm going to teach you what is happening in supply chain management today. Today, many companies are using blockchain in supply chain. By the way, anyone here know what a blockchain is? Maybe you may have read before, or maybe you're very interested, you go on the internet, you read, or whatever it is. Or maybe you're covered in another module previously, I do not know. Anybody know what is a blockchain? Big data. Okay, it is part of big data, or it is part of information But guys, if I were to give you a very, very simple example of blockchain, by the way, a blockchain basically are blocks and blocks and blocks which are chained up with information. Yeah. So, like, Fook, you say a collection of suppliers or helper. Yeah. So it's a collection of suppliers which are interconnected with each other that share information, and these are blocks and blocks of information which are transparently shared among everyone. Yeah. Okay. So that is a blockchain. Again, just remember, blockchains are blocks and blocks of information that everybody shares. Guys, let me give you one example of blockchain that I'm sure you have experienced before. Guys, have you ever that maybe you wanted to buy, just say for example, as simple as a power bank. Maybe you want to buy a power bank. You go to Shopee and you search for a power bank. You see what brand exists and what is the price. Then you go to Lazada. You shop for power bank and you look at what price, but you haven't buy yet. After that, when you go on Facebook, power bank, power bank, power bank is advertised for you. You go to some website, you read some news, power bank, power bank, power bank is advertised to you. You go on Instagram, you can see advertisement on power bank. Have you ever encountered that before? I'm sure you have. Yeah? Guys, that is called blockchain. So how do they know? Because this information was shared in a network. Yeah, and that's the reason when you go and find, you find that this information enters into the block, and you find that everybody know. Now Shopee know, Lazada know, Zalora know, everybody know that you have searched something on power bank. So now they feed you information on power bank. So how did that happen? Is because of this information that you created, then everyone share, now they push it to you in terms of advertisement. Yeah. So guys, that is a very good example, a very simple example of blockchain. But now let me give you an example of blockchain in supply chain management. Just say, for example, I'm a company in Singapore, and whenever I buy raw materials, I always buy raw material from Germany. And whenever I order from Germany, my Germany supplier, what they do is they send it through flight, and the flight they will send it through is the flight will go from Germany to Hong Kong, and then from Hong Kong to Singapore. Maybe that's the best flight, one of the cheapest one, a bit more slow, because of course direct Germany to Singapore will be much faster, but the flight is too expensive. Yeah. So every time they send it by this. Yeah. And guys, this flight information about flights and so on are in a blockchain. Yeah. So now let me tell you about all this flight information, the prices and so on, the routes and so on. Let me tell you the flight industry or the aerospace industry, they also have a blockchain. So now let me tell you what happened. Just say today I order something from my Germany supplier. Yeah, and my Germany supplier received the order, they process the order, and they want to transport. Just before they transport, when they want to book the flight from Germany to Hong Kong and from Hong Kong to Singapore, suddenly when they want to book the flight, they saw in the blockchain and information that today in Hong Kong airport, students are going to go protest, and likely the Hong Kong airport will shut down. All flights will be cancelled. So somebody entered this information in the blockchain. Yeah? That, because you know social media today, this is how they gather. They say, hey, let's go to the airport and let's protest down there. So if somebody found out, and all these students, I'm sure you know what is happening in Hong Kong today. So this is what is the information we found. So since my German supplier found this information, will they still send my raw material from Germany to Hong Kong and to Singapore? Then you go to Hong Kong, the flight all cancelled, my raw material will go back to Germany. It will be delayed tremendously. So guys, since they have this information, what they'll do now is they say, hey, better don't take this normal flight that they are sending me through. So maybe they find which is a better flight, and they found out there's another flight which is also a bit more cheaper and so on, which is from Germany to Taiwan to Singapore. Yeah, maybe it's a bit more expensive, but they'll try to avoid, and they send it through that flight. So you can see, guys, this blockchain has made the supply chain much, much more efficient. Because if we did not have this blockchain, we don't know about this information. Maybe some know, and many, many people do not know. My supplier will just send their normal route, and my shipment will be stuck in Hong Kong or shipment sent back to Germany. Yeah. So guys, that is another example of blockchain in supply chain management, and you can see how important this blockchain is. Now, let me one more simple example of blockchain in supply chain management. Let me use suppliers because suppliers are very important. Just say, for example, I'm a company in Singapore and I need to buy a certain raw material. I ask three suppliers to quote. I ask supplier A, B, and C to quote to me how much. Just say supplier A, B, and C quote to me, and I found out that supplier B is the cheapest. And when I check, I find that supplier B, the raw material is very high quality as well. And you know what I do? I order from supplier B. After I order, they never send. Yeah, they delay. I pay them some deposit, and they never send me this raw material. I say, my God, I order from this supplier, and this supplier never send me. Yeah. But guys, what happen if just say if these suppliers are in a blockchain? So now let me tell you what will happen. If all these suppliers A, B, C are in a blockchain, these suppliers, whichever customer that they sell to raw material, all the invoice will go inside the blockchain. So this supplier B, how many customer buy from them will go into blockchain. The invoice will be there. And when did this supplier deliver, the customer will enter. The supplier don't enter, it's the customer who enter this information. Yeah, because this information should be entered by the customer. So the customer enter that the material is very high quality, the material is cheap, they deliver on time and so on. Yeah. So just say, for example, when I wanted to buy from supplier A, B, C, all the customers who bought from supplier B entered information. Supplier B every time slow. Supplier B sometimes the material they say high quality but not high quality. Sometimes they say the price is so much, but eventually they charge some extra that they never put before. So there's a lot of information on supplier B. So guys, I asked supplier A, B, C to quote B is the cheapest, and they say it's high quality. But when I look at the information, I find that my goodness, this supplier B every time delay, every time this. Will I order from supplier B? I say I better don't order from supplier B. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order from maybe supplier A, where the information there are all the positive, and I'm going to order from supplier A. Even though they are a little bit more expensive, but I find that this is the better one because of all the positive information in the blockchain. Yeah. So guys, this blockchain is a very complicated process, of course, but I just explained to you in a very, very simple term how blockchain may work in supply chain management, and it helps everyone. And guys, if I'm a very reputable supplier, I will participate in blockchain. I will participate. Yeah. So that in the end, I'm in this blockchain network, and you find that all the customers who buy from me will enter, and you find that in the end, people will buy from me rather than don't buy from me. Yep. So there's another example of how blockchain can be used in supply chain management. Guys, I just want to tell you, blockchain can be used in financial. Just for information, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is actually part of blockchain as well. Yeah. Because you know how cryptocurrency works is by mining, and the price change and so on. And you find that all this information is shared in a blockchain as well. So let me tell you, financial, cryptocurrency, and so on are on blockchain. So blockchain can be used in financial, can be used in human resource management, can be used in logistics, can be used in our operation management, supply chain management, and in many, many ways. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to cover this because this is what companies are doing today. They are using blockchain in order to make their supply chain management much, much more better. So let me summarize what I covered today. Today, number one, I told you what supply chain management is. It is the movement from raw material all the way to finished goods and services that reaches our customer. So this entire process is called supply chain management. I also covered 3 examples of supply chain management of companies. I covered Zara, I covered McDonald's, and I covered Apple. Thirdly, I told you that costs are associated in supply chain management, and companies must make sure that in their entire supply chain management, they reduce costs whatever they can. And if they can double their profit, not double, but actually just increase their profit, they should increase as much as possible. And I also covered another very important part of supply chain management is supplier. So companies should not anyhow buy from any supplier. Okay, companies must evaluate supplier. Then I use a certain tool, I can justify why I buy from this supplier. And I also covered today companies are not limited to buying supplies from their own country only, they can buy international, but don't forget there are some costs involved. I need to evaluate them. And the very last part today, I covered one problem in supply chain management, which is the bullwhip effect. And I covered one major solution we have in supply chain, which is called blockchain. Yep. So that is chapter number 12, which is supply chain management. Anyone have any question on chapter number 12? If no question, it is almost 1:30. Maybe we can start again at 1:50. Okay, go and grab a bit of your lunch and so on. We start again at 1:50. Yep, see you guys in a short while. Okay, there are only two questions you need to answer today. Question number 1 and question number 2. So question number 1, I want you to explain the supply chain management of any chosen company of your choice. So please choose any company you want, and very briefly, no need to go very detailed, briefly you explain how this company take raw materials, do, finally how it reaches to the customer hand. So explain their supply chain management process. Yeah. Please do not choose Zara, please do not choose Apple, and please do not choose McDonald's, because I explained that to you today. So how I explained that to you, you are going to choose another company and explain the supply chain management process. Yeah, okay, that's question number 1. Question number 2, I want you to explain any 4 costs associated in global sourcing. So please refer to this slide. Today I covered 6 costs associated in global sourcing. You choose any 4 and you explain. Yeah. Literally, you're writing something like this, but of course, don't just try to explain in your own words a little bit. So please refer to this slide. Choose any 4 to explain. Yeah. Okay, so these are the only 2 questions you need to do. So guys, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to off my webcam. I'm going to off my microphone, but I'll be in front of my computer. And you guys do, when you have written something, you can post on the private group chat, or you can email to me as well, and then I will reply to you as you do this tutorial. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to be in front of my computer. You just write to me and I'll reply. So it's up to you. You can write on a piece of paper. I got some students, they write on a piece of paper, then they take photo and then they email to me. Some students, of course, they write. Nowadays, many people don't like to write anymore, so they type. You just email to me whatever you have written, or you just post on the group chat. Yeah. Okay. So we still have a lot of time. It is 2:05. Let me give you about half an hour. Then maybe after that I will mark attendance. Then after that, maybe I'm going to spend about 10 minutes. Normally I try to finish class about 10 or 15 minutes earlier, so that if you have any question on assignment and so on, you can ask me. Yeah, then we can do some consultation. Okay, so let me give you about half an hour or so to do these 2 questions. Yeah, okay, please do. Again, I'm going to be in front of my computer. You send to me any queries that you have. Hi guys, I hope you are doing. I can see some of you ask me some question privately. So please do, and as I mentioned, I'm in front of my PC. Anytime, just ask me any question that you have. Yep. Okay, but please do these two questions.